Now, Executive Suite with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nisi.
Women make up nearly half of Rhode Island's workforce, and a new nonprofit networking group is celebrating their success. The PVD Lady Project brings together women entrepreneurs in the city to share their stories and learn from each other. They just kicked off their second year, and they're still going strong. This week on Executive Suite, co-founders of the PVD Lady Project, Sygiel and Sierra Barter. Plus, drive in any direction for a few miles and you'll probably go past a Dunkin Donuts. Annual sales at the ubiquitous coffee chain are nearly $9 billion, thanks to an army of franchisees who own the individual stores. So is the road to riches paved with munchkins? We'll ask the chairman of the state's Dunkin Donuts Independent Franchise Owners Roundtable, Chris Prazeres. Welcome to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. Julie, Sierra, thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
And I said PVD Lady Project because that's how you spell it out, but you guys usually say Providence Lady Project, right? We were talking before the show. So here on Executive Suite, it might be the PVD Lady Project, but that's all right. And off the website, you say the Providence Lady Project connects, inspires, and showcases awesome women doing amazing things in Providence. How?
Well, we have monthly events. We actually just celebrated our first birthday on February 22nd. And we kicked it off with a big bash at the Dorrans, one of our favorite places downtown. We have monthly events where we invite about 120, 150 women in the area. They come from all around Rhode Island, it's not just Providence. And we mingle, we have a cocktail, we usually have some speakers that come to speak for 3 minutes each. We call it the PVD 3x3, where you can meet women in different industries, different ages, and learn from each other. And what we really want is for women to work with each other. You know, there's an old saying, you know, when you need someone in Rhode Island, it's always call Tony, you know, call him, it always works out. We want it to be like, I know a girl, call Julie, she'll help you out.
I know a girl, I like that. Call Tony, maybe Tony with an I.
Yeah, exactly.
There are a lot of networking events in the city. There's the Providence Geeks, there's Drinking Liberally. What made you decide there was a demand for something like the PVD Providence Lady Project?
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where we were talking and realized that we knew so many amazing women, but they didn't necessarily know each other. And so there wasn't a forum for them to get together, and we wanted to make it something that was really fun and exciting and different. So at each of our events, we try to host something that's a little out of the ordinary and keep it interesting. And
especially focused on entrepreneurs, right?
Absolutely. A lot of our members either own their own businesses, or they're like myself who work full-time and have a business on the side, or maybe they have a blog, or they just, you know, want to meet other people who are driven and motivated and doing really cool stuff. So a lot of our members own their own businesses or hope to own their own business, but you don't have to own a business to be a member. So
you said you've been doing this a little more than a year now. What's the response been like so far? How many people come to the events? Did you find there was a demand for this?
Yeah, it's been incredible. We hosted our first event and we kind of always joke, we're like, you know, is anyone going to show up? And then it really grew from there. So we had about 150 people at our birthday bash at the Dorrans. And, you know, Sierra's great at social media, and so we are always posting fun pictures and things like that.
Yeah, and we have about 135 members. We launched an official membership January 1st of this year, so we have 135 members who pay a yearly fee of about $25 to $35. We make sure that everything's really budget friendly because we understand a lot of our members, you know, are younger, or, you know, they have families, they have other obligations. We never want it to be, you know, tight on their budget to join and be at our events. So it's a small yearly fee, but they get a ton of benefits like a closed Facebook group, a member directory, they're on our website, they get access to events earlier, but that's really grown in the last month and a half.
And what do you hear from the women who go to this and who have decided they like it? And what is the response? What's the reaction? What's the conversation?
You know, I remember one of my friends came to our BYOM event last September, and so it stood for Bring Your Own Mentor. And we paired women into groups of 10 people, so, you know, half of them mentors, half of them members, and it forced people to talk with people that they didn't come to the event with. And so my friend was saying, I met this woman and she was amazing and she was so helpful, and she was in a totally different industry and I never would have met her had I not come to this event. So I love introducing people who, you know, don't run in the same social circles normally, but they get together.
And that was part of the idea, right? To get different age groups, different sectors, different industries, different places, even outside of Providence as well?
Absolutely, and a lot of the women that Julie and I thought of off the bat, they were, graphic designers, or they're photographers, or they're in the financial sector, and we're like, everyone needs an accountant, everyone needs a photographer. Why aren't we working together and hiring each other? Whether that's real business or for trade or for barter. We want everyone to know of each other and work with each other.
And you're planning, I saw on your website, you have a major event coming up. It'll be held next month. I think it's a summit. Tell us about it.
Yeah, we're launching the first ever Lady Project Summit on April 13th at Anchor Studios in Providence. And it's going to be a day long of speakers, fun workshops, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Actually, registration goes live this week. So
this week, and people, is it open to everyone? How's that part work?
You do have to be a woman to come to our events or identify as a woman, but it's open to everyone. We do have a discount for all of our events for members, or either a discount or they get earlier access.
Now, let me ask you: is there a reverse sexism there that you don't have men involved, or is that have you ever gotten that response from people saying, "Why is it closed to men"?
We have, and there's a lot of boys clubs out there, and we're like, well, we're going to have our own. And, we've had guys sign up for events, and we're like, you're going to feel really uncomfortable. But our last event, our birthday bash, we did let guys come for the after party. So it was our boy-girl party, I guess.
So they can come in to be arm candy afterwards, right? And what are you excited about for the summit?
I'm really excited about the workshops. So we have about 16 different teachers that are coming, and it's everything from Photoshop to public speaking to your how to use QuickBooks 101 and things like that. And so I think our goal for the workshops is they're each 45 minutes, and so we want everyone to get a tangible skill out of that 45 minutes. It's not just talking about theories, it's realistically, I want to come away from that day knowing way more than I did when I came into it.
And do you expect that a lot of people will want to come?
We hope so, yeah.
That's the hope, right?
We're actually capping it at 100. So
at 100, so being a relatively intimate kind of event. Yeah. Cool, very cool. All right, well, we have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about what advice these two ladies might have for keeping more ladies like themselves in Providence and in Rhode Island as we try to rebuild the economy here. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi, and I'm joined now by two local entrepreneurs, Julie Sygiel and Sierra Barter. They're also the co-founders of the Providence Lady Project, spelled out PVD when you look online. And I was talking to a friend of mine who's actually taken part in some of your events, I found out when I was planning the show, and she said she was curious what you two think of the term feminism today, because sometimes there's a debate, I know, among women about whether to embrace that term, whether it's something from the past. I'll start with you. What do you think about that, Sierra?
Well, I completely identify as a feminist. I mean, feminism is just about equality for, everyone. I was raised by a single mom and have had, the privilege of having a lot of wonderful female role models in my life. And, feminism is all about choice, whether it's starting your own business or if you're going back to school or if you stay, decide to be a stay-at-home mom. And I think the word feminism has unfortunately developed a negative connotation, which is unfair and untrue. But Julie and I both consider ourselves feminists, and we're all about women bringing it to the table.
Do you see it as something that's more? Some people see it as anti-men. Others have said it's about being pro-women, and there's a difference there. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. It's not about being anti-men. It's about being equal, being on that playing field, being at that head seat in the boardroom. Being as assertive, being as much of a leader as your other colleagues, whether they're men or women.
And Julie, same question to you. When you hear the word feminism, what does it mean today to a young woman today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, I don't know how anyone could not be a feminist today, because it's about equality. And my mom was primary breadwinner in our family when I was growing up, and my dad, raised me to believe that you can do anything that you want to do, and there's no reason that you can't do exactly what a man is doing or better, And so I think that we need to embrace the term, and as Sierra said, it has this negative connotation, but really when you get down to what does it mean, it just means we're rooting for both sexes to be equal.
I'm curious to what, we'll move on, but sometimes there's a conversation among, because we're all around the same age, men my age, that we're better at being less sexist than previous generations, that maybe we've learned more because our mothers worked and everything. Do you think that's true? Do you think men have made progress in thinking about this stuff, or do you think there's still a long, long way to go on that?
I think that most, men I've met in our age group aren't as intimidated as previous generations of successful women. Most experiences I've had where I've experienced sexism we're typically of an older generation, where they've asked me to call my dad when my car needed to be fixed, or asked if they could talk to my dad on the phone instead of my mom. And my dad doesn't even live in this country, so it doesn't even matter. But I do think that as younger generations develop, they do realize most people's parents both work.
Yeah.
So.
Julie, we were talking between the break about, are there specific challenges here in Providence and in Rhode Island and generally for women entrepreneurs that are maybe different and specific? What would you say to that?
I think there are a number of different challenges that affect men and women who are starting businesses, but the thing that I think about when we're talking about women specifically, when people look at me as a young woman starting my own business, I think they don't automatically assume that I have this vision and that they don't assume that I'm dreaming big and that I have these big goals. They think small business, okay, you're going to be small. And so as a woman, it's important to spell out and really let people know that you're going for the gold, and you're thinking big and really going for it, because their mind doesn't automatically go there.
So almost the difference between a shop owner and Steve Jobs, with no disrespect to shop owners, but different scales.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you both, that goes right into the next question, which is you both have companies of your own, and I'll stick with you first, Julie. I remember your company won an entrepreneurship contest I covered going back a number of years now. Tell us about your company and what it's called now.
You were actually the very first person who covered us in Rhode Island. We are now Dear Kate, and it's a line of performance underwear for women. So all of our garments are made with our patent-pending fabrics that are wicking, they're stain-releasing, and there's a thin leak-resistant layer. So there's actually 1 in 3 new moms for 5 years after they give birth have light bladder leak issues. No one talks about it.
Nope.
But
I don't think it's ever come up on this show before.
I bet not. But it's a huge issue for women everywhere, and so we're making beautiful functional underwear that they can wear. So it's at dearkates.com.
And has the response been?
It's been incredible. Yeah, we just launched the new brand in December, so we had a ton of media attention. We were in Fast Company, Daily Candy, Mashable, all of that.
Yeah. And for you have 2 jobs, Sierra. You work for Johnson & Wales by day, but you're also an entrepreneur. Tell us about the entrepreneurial side of things.
I have a company called Clementine Lime. We do interior styling and organizing, and I'm actually launching a new venture called Brand It that focuses more on what I do for my day job with social media consulting and strategy.
Nice.
To work with small businesses.
And the other thing is, neither one of you is actually from Rhode Island originally, which I said makes you kind of the holy grail for policymakers here about how do we keep all these talented folks who come here for school to stay. And I think school brought both of you to Providence, right? So sticking with you first, Sierra, what led you to decide when you were finishing at Johnson & Wales, I'm going to stay and start my professional life in Providence, even though I'm from out of town?
I originally am from Wisconsin, and I really loved Providence. I really fell in love with the city. It's a great starter city, so they say there's tons going on, there's lots of restaurants, and I just met so many great connections. And Julie and I always talk, like, Prazeres Lady Project, people really wouldn't care about it in New York. Rhode Island has such a fantastic community, and I feel like everyone's really rooting for each other, and it's almost easier to make those connections, because you go to Starbucks and you run into 40 people you went to college with. So it's easier to make those connections, and I really stayed because I just loved the area. I loved being an hour away from Boston, being able to go to the beach, just everything here, the small local, buy local image. And
have you found it hospitable as a place to start a small business, to be an entrepreneur?
Absolutely, and Julie and I have been really fortunate to get as much media exposure and as much interest in the Prazeres Lady Project, and it's only helped our community and helped our members to grow their own businesses. And I'm always so flattered when I hear a member say, oh, I reached out to Susan because I met her at an event and now she's my graphic designer. I'm like, that's amazing, that's exactly what we want. And we see that happening, and that's the point of it.
And same question to you, Julie. What led you to stay? Where are you from originally, and why'd you stay after school?
I'm originally from Eastern Kentucky, and I wrote the business plan and started the underwear business when I was still a student at Brown. So
a chem student, right?
Yeah, chemical engineering. And so we were developing the fabric when we were in school, and then ended up networking with a lot of people in the community through the Rhode Island Business Plan competition. And people were so supportive, and we found our first investor in Providence, and actually one of our fabrics is manufactured in Westerly, Rhode Island, so it made sense that we would
So it was
here.
making those connections while you were in school was really crucial to setting roots down even before you graduated.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And we've had great mentors and professors that we've known since college, and other women that we've interned with or that we've went to college with, and being able to make those lasting connections. And in Rhode Island, I think we take care of each other.
All right, well, we have to take another break. I want to thank you both for being here.
Thank
the
you.
Summit, the Providence Lady Project, is coming up in April. Check out their website for more. When we come back, a lot of people buy at Dunkin' Donuts, but not a lot of people own a Dunkin' Donuts. We'll hear from a franchisee. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi, and I'm joined now by Chris Prazeres. His family owns 7 Dunkin' Donuts franchises. That's right, in the East Bay.
East Bay area,
East Bay, Barrington, Bristol, and Warren. Chris, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
So I mentioned earlier, we think of Dunkin' Donuts as a multi-billion-dollar global company all over the world, but actually getting the donuts and the coffee are often small businessmen like yourself, right?
Yeah, it's mostly local business people who, like myself, who, it isn't this huge conglomerate when we think of, the other businesses like McDonald's and Starbucks. And the Dunkin' Donuts is very unique. It's individually franchised by people who have invested time, lots of money, and lots of hours, and so that they can make the brand itself, the Dunkin' logo, successful, as well as themselves successful in business.
And you sort of alluded to it there, but that's not the case with every major chain we think of, right? That's out on the streets.
Correct. There are a lot of times they're company-owned stores where McDonald's will own a good chunk of the units that they have. Starbucks is the same. Dunkin' Donuts is very unique in that aspect. That they just started owning a very, very small percentage. It's minimal, but a lot of the success that they've had has been because of individual business owners that have really invested.
And I'm curious about that relationship. How much control, and I don't mean it in a negative way, does Dunkin' High Command have versus how much leeway each business person has to put their own stamp on their store and how they manage it?
Sure. So, I mean, a donut is a donut, right? But how that donut gets delivered to the customer, how that coffee gets delivered to the customer, if it's done right, is it accurate? Are you giving
they need it to taste
customer
the same whether Chris Prazeres is selling
Correct. Yeah. Are you giving it with a smile to the customer? Will the customer enjoy that experience and come back and say, you know what, I'm going to go there tomorrow and have a cup of coffee? That is done at the store level. That's done by the systems that you have in place, being the business owner, implementing that into your staff, and so that it goes beyond the doors, beyond the drive-through, into the customer's experience.
So I know some people have a favorite store and they feel very differently about that Dunkin' from another one in town maybe, and there might be a reason for that.
There is. We have a store that literally, if you walk out to the edge of the parking lot, you look down the street, you'll see the sign for the other one. It just happens to be on opposite sides of the street. But there are people that like to go to that one particular. They have a crew member there that knows their coffee by heart. They see their car pulling through the drive-thru. Okay, there's Mary. She gets a medium coffee with extra cream and extra sugar. It'll already be ready for her there. We personalize the experience for the customer.
And that actually goes to another question I had. People always ask, how can Rhode Island and Massachusetts possibly sustain so many separate Dunkin' Donuts stores? Because often you see, not all of them, but some very close together. Is that, are there places where there might be a few too many, or is that closely looked at about exactly how much demand there is in each spot?
It is looked at. Certainly there's a study that goes into it, but at the end of the day, if a customer, it depends on various dynamics. If it's a particular location where one particular business owner or franchisee has a couple of stores and maybe what to put one in between to make it easier for the customer, say it's tough to get out of this parking lot to take a right or a left. Well, a good opportunity across the street opened up. Maybe we can put something there, something smaller scale that would make economic sense. That's where you start to see a little bit of saturation, but
Do you get rivalries? Do you have any rivals, maybe friendly rivals among the ones close to you?
We try to avoid that because that's really not constructive for anybody. But say, hey, my sales are up X amount of dollars this year. How are you doing? And that type of bantering goes on.
Yeah. Now we've gone through, as you well know, a really difficult stretch economically for Rhode Island overall since 2007. Obviously, people are always going to need coffee and they're always going to need breakfast. But have you seen impacts over those years? I know you're a family-owned franchise, so you have a lot of history with this. What is your family's experience?
Yeah, we have seen it. We've seen with the economic downturn. We don't see the customer that would come in 3, 4, 5 times a day anymore. Now there's other options. It's cheaper to brew a coffee at home, or we have the K-Cup coffee now. They can brew it at home, and they'll do that, and they'll take it with them. They may come and see us during the coffee break or lunch break, but we don't see that repeat customer that we used to see in the past. We would see customers that come into the drive-thru, and they'll have 3 or 4 empty cups on the passenger seat. we're starting to see less and less of that.
So you definitely saw you guys, because you guys are real close to the ground in terms of consumer, how people are feeling. They can say, well, I'll do 1 coffee instead of 2 or something.
Correct,
You saw
yes.
that.
Yeah, we definitely saw that for sure.
Yeah,
yes.
and your family, you were, your dad, I think, still works, Joe, right?
Yes, yes,
He still
yeah.
works there, and your brother works
Yes,
there. Did you
yes.
always know you'd become part of the Dunkin' Donuts
I was
line in the family?
I was fortunate. My father is an immigrant from Portugal, and he came over, and he didn't even speak English when he came over in the late 60s. The only language he knew was hard work. He was able to get into Dunkin' business in 1989. I was only 14 years old at the time. But
Did you get free donuts?
We did, yeah. We got free donuts. It was great. It was great. It's a kid's dream.
Most popular
right?
kid in high
Kid's
school,
dream.
yeah.
Yeah, all my friends would come over and get free donuts. But my dad emphasized education. So I had options. I went to Boston College. I went to Roger Williams Law School. I have a law degree. I choose to run the Dunkin' business. Because a couple of reasons. Number one, it's been so great to us. It's a successful business. And two, my dad started it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I take pride and I enjoy the fact that I can maintain the growth of that business, kind of as a reflection of his hard work for us. And to give back and say, hey, you know what, Dad, what you built, we're going to keep it going for as long as we can.
And that's obviously different from if he'd been the top manager of a McDonald's that was owned by McDonald's corporate, because it's your own family Dunkin' Donuts franchise.
Correct. Yeah, right. I just have that loyalty. I mean, it's one of the things that I grew up in the business. You know, the business bred me, and here we are.
So people are going to be dying to know, what is the #1 selling product, maybe the best top selling beverage and the top selling food?
Believe it or not, it's hot, obviously it's coffee, but iced coffee is really, really taking off. And it's not, people ask me, well, how much iced coffee could you possibly sell in the wintertime? We sell a ton.
Really?
We still do. Iced coffee is becoming more and more popular, and especially here in Rhode Island, and it's branching out to Massachusetts, obviously, as well as Connecticut. But if you talk to some franchisees down in Florida, they still trying to nail down the iced coffee. They're just not penetrating the consumer down there because it doesn't really make sense. But iced coffee is by far the most popular.
So it's a cultural thing almost.
I think it is.
Really
I think it is.
on iced
Yes,
coffee.
exactly. And it's like Dell's Lemonade or coffee milk here in
Yeah.
Rhode Island. It's just like a staple of.
And on the food
Rhode
side,
Island.
what's the biggest selling food?
I think it's donuts.
Yeah.
It's still donuts.
Any
yeah.
flavor go most of all?
Yeah, the glazed donuts and the chocolate frosted and the Boston cream are still the populous. Yeah.
But people have some special options. This is airing St. Patrick's Day weekend, and I
Yes.
think here you can point for us.
Yeah,
What are we looking at here?
Yep, so we have some, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, we have some St. Patrick's Day donuts here with some sprinkles, green frosting donut. We have the, obviously the most popular ones, the sprinkled donut, Boston cream, we have a jelly. We still have people that like that, I don't always find it donut, which would be like the chocolate coconut. That's in the blueberry cake donut here, which is here as well.
Down here on that part, yeah.
So those are, sometimes you don't always get those, but when a customer sees it, they like it, they want to grab it.
Chris,
right
only 30 seconds left, but I know your family is also really very involved in the community, the Special Olympics of Rhode Island particularly. Tell me about that.
Yeah, my father was on the board of directors for Special Olympics. His term came up. He said, hey, why don't you get involved? I love it. We do a lot of community stuff. We do for Special Olympics, the Blood Center, Hasbro Children's Hospital. It's just our way of giving back, and our customers are so good to our business. It's just our way of giving back to the community, giving back to tremendous organizations, and we are so proud to be
All
affiliated.
right, Chris, thank you so much for being here. I want to thank Julie and Sierra in the first half. If you missed any of the show, you can catch it all on WPRI.com. Stick with us next week on Executive Suite.